I find it to be essential that our kids get outside more now. Over the last couple of decades, there's been a disturbing trend where the number of children getting outside has decreased more and more and more. Think back to a special place for you when you were young. A place that was maybe your own private little secret spot. Nobody was able to bother you. I'll tell you about one of mine. When I was 5, 6, 7 years old, we had a cottage in the Laurentians north of Montreal. And I was able to get out to a little clearing in the woods. It was something that only a little kid could get into. You had to crawl through a tunnel in the ground among the balsam fir into this little meadow, smaller than the stage. Deep, 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 thick moss, completely impenetrable to my parents' eyes, and I could lie in there and have a wonderful time. Don't know what I did, and it was too long ago. I really don't remember what I did, but I sure remember lying there looking at the green and feeling the softness. That was a connection for me in the early days. Starting to say before, kids aren't getting that much anymore. Kids around the world are getting disengaged, and that's a problem because Louise Chawla and some others have done studies all around the world of environmentalists. I shouldn't use that word. People who care about and act on the environment. Environmentalist is getting to be a bad word. Anyway, the people that are active in the environment all around the world all have this similar experience when they were young. There was something when they were a youth, when they were a teenager, when they were a young adult. They had some special connection to nature. My little clearing in the woods was one of my earliest ones. And it's not there anymore. I had a neighbor, or a fellow from Montreal who lived in an apartment building, moved up north, cut down all the trees, planted a lawn. All his life, all he wanted to do was cut grass. And so that was his special place. He had his lawn. Anyway, there's a place in Ottawa, the National Archives of Canada has a building in Ottawa that's had 83 floods in the last 20 years. And you know what? Nobody cares. It's a building that people can't get into. They don't know what's in there. Every time there's a flood, a burst pipe, a leaky roof, we lose some of our heritage. But nobody knows what it is, and nobody gives a damn. That's what I'm worried about with the children now. If our kids aren't getting out into nature, if they don't know what's out there, and then there's a threat to it sometime in the future, they won't care either. So, special places in the woods, on the seashore, in the mountains, you have to get the kids out into them. So how do we make sure that the kids of today grow up to have these experiences? At the nature center I work at, we run a preschool program, Nature Nursery, and we take children 3 to 5 years old out into the sanctuary or into the woods for 5 hours a week for up to 2 years. So we're taking these little kids out, and they're having a good time out there. I always wondered, though, are we doing anything apart from providing a happy babysitting service? Does it make a difference? So for my postgraduate research, I wound up asking that question. I asked the kids, I asked the parents, I surveyed and had control groups and all those good things. And the short answer is yes. 5 to 7 years later, kids that were in Nature Nursery are now much more connected to nature than their peers. So this early childhood exposure makes a difference. And I'm not claiming that our little program at the Nature Center is the solution to everything, that this made the whole difference. I think it formed a framework that the children, as they grew, were able to add to use to organize their later life experiences, what they did with their families and their friends, with youth groups in their schools. They were able to make sense of it in a certain way because their peers, kids just like them but had never been in the program, were much, much less connected to nature. And that was the only difference I could find. You have to be careful, though. In West Germany in the 80s, They tried to run an environmental education program because they wanted a bunch of good environmental stewards of their environment. So they taught their kids about heavy metal pollution in Europe's rivers and about the ozone hole and about global warming. And when they checked back a few years later, they had a bunch of disenchanted, disillusioned, disengaged children. They had kids that looked at the world in a completely hopeless manner. And whenever there was a local environmental issue, they turned their back on it. They figured from early age on, it's too big an issue. There's nothing we can do about this. So I think this is something David Sobel brought up in his book, Ecophobia. You have to first instill a love of nature in kids before you bring in the disasters. The words he used were, no disasters before 10 years of age. So don't lay a guilt trip on your kindergarten kid about, oh, if you don't throw that pop can in the recycling, the world's going to come to an end. Take the kid outside, let them play. So what did I find out about Red Deer's kids? It pretty much reflected what Richard Louv wrote about in his book, Last Child in the Woods. Kids enjoy playing outside more than they enjoy playing inside, most of the time. I asked their parents about it too. Why do kids like being outside so much? Or what difference do you see? And the parents all reported, almost universally, that when their kids had been playing outside and they came back in, they were calmer, they were more relaxed, they were less stressed, they slept better, and they didn't fight with their siblings as much after they'd been outside. You turn them loose in the house in front of the TV set for a while, and then there's going to be a fight with their brother. Our nature nursery program that I talked about, it runs 100% outdoors in June and September, and then the rest of the colder months, they have to be part of the time indoors, part of the time outdoors. And the nature nursery teachers report the same thing. When the kids are completely outside, fewer discipline problems, happier kids. So why don't kids play outside? Well, there's the electronic babysitters, there's the video games, computers, and televisions. Interviewing the kids, they came back with, well, we have nobody to play with, so I don't go outside. Or I live in an apartment, and there's nowhere to play. Or my parents work all the time, I have to go to grandma's after school, and there's nothing to do there but watch television. One girl told me that she has soccer, 2.5 hours a day, 7 days a week. And between soccer and homework, she has no time to play. Kid in grade 5 shouldn't have to say she has no time to play. Don't overprogram them. The saddest ones, though, I had 3 kids, not in my control group, not in the nature nursery kids, who reported that their favorite things in life were eating and sleeping. What's a grade 5 girl going to be in a few years if her favorite thing in life is to eat? Maybe a chef, I don't know, but that one was really disturbing. There were 3 of them that did that. So children are going to inherit our mess. If we want tomorrow's leaders to be the environmental stewards, they have to have a place to go play. And it doesn't have to be acres and acres of mown lawn. They need a natural area to play in, close to their homes, so they can get there. Parents have really bought into the whole thing of stranger danger. There's a boogeyman behind every bush. Grandparents used to be able to, when they were young, have a range of about 2 miles to go play in, or to go explore. Same age kids today have less than 2 blocks. Parents keep them under their thumb so that they don't get jumped on by the boogeyman. Give them time outside. Give them time to play. The rule used to be, come home when the streetlights turn on. Don't be afraid also of not being the expert. You don't have to know the name of every bug or of every bird. Go outside and play with the kids. The fact that you're interested in what they're doing is going to make all the difference. Create the memorable experience of being together. They don't have to learn, they just have to have fun. And having you with them is going to make a big, big difference. To close, I've got a quick quote here from Rachel Carson. She was the author of Silent Spring, sharing the wonder of nature. And that's her in the picture, in the dress. She wrote, "If I had influence with the good fairy, who is supposed to preside over the christening of all children, I should ask that her gift to each child in the world be a sense of wonder so indestructible that it would last there throughout life. If a child is to keep alive his inborn sense of wonder, without any such gift from the fairies, he needs the companionship of at least one adult who can share it, rediscovering with him the joy and excitement and mystery of nature and the world we live in." Thanks.